Hello and welcome back to the Skipper's View podcast, episode 198. Here with Hagen Snell and Ethan over at Running with the OPS Baseball. Boys, before we get into all of the exciting news that's going on right now as we're live, we got to mention our partner, Chinook Seedery. If you want to go get some seeds, use the Skipper's View to get 10% discount code from Chinook Seedery. That's CHINOOK Seedery. Go buy their seats. Guys, let's start off hot and heavy. We got all-star voting and snubs that we got to talk about. So I'm going to start with you, Hagen. Let's start with the American League, and then let's jump into the National after that. But let's start with the American League. Thoughts as we go through this. Do we want to just list them out? How do we want to do this? Do we want to go with snubs first?
Probably start with snubs here. I do that. We just go around the infield first.
Yeah, that's fine. So, anyone in the infield for the American League that you want to particularly start off with that should have made it, that maybe didn't?
I think the most obvious, is the biggest snub for maybe any all-star position has got to be Jonathan Aranda, the Tampa Bay Rays. I know Ethan feels the same exact way. A 157 WRC plus is third in all of the American League right now. He has 10 home runs already. He's slashing 325, 406, 493 with a 392 WOBA. This guy has been phenomenal for the Tampa Bay Rays this year, and even for how he's honestly been, he's been a top 10 hitter in Major League Baseball this season, and no one really even talks about that still. I know it seems like even sometimes, obviously, knowing Ethan, and he talks a lot about the Rays, you still hear about that, but it still feels like no one really talks about him being snubbed enough, and in my opinion, I think he was the biggest all-star snub out of any position in any league.
Yeah, before we go to Ethan, I know you're going to have a comment or two on that. Aranda saved two of my fantasy leagues for me this year. He's been an absolute dog at the plate. And I think that's pretty big. And to be honest, I think Vlad Guerrero Jr., he's more of a household name, but usually you hear about guys more. And I feel like Vlad Guerrero Jr., even with the numbers, he's been kind of quiet this year. And maybe that's just my personal take on it. Ethan, what about you? Where are you at with the American League infield on snubs?
Jonathan Aranda, I think going into last week, was hitting 300 on every single pitch type. So there wasn't anything that you could throw this guy that you could possibly get him out with. Hitting the ball over the field, the hard hit profile is so elite with Jonathan Aranda. This guy was up there in barrel rate with guys like Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge last year. And he's finally just getting everyday playing time and finally putting it together. Kind of just to stick with the Rays, the fact that Brandon Lowe, in my opinion, is not an all-star, I think is also kind of criminal. 19 bombs, 50 RBIs, 274 average, 324 OBP, slugging close to 500 with a 130 WRC plus. I find it hard to believe that there's any second baseman in the American League that has been as productive as Brandon Lowe. I get Jackson Holliday's been pretty solid this year at 21 years old. He's finally finding himself. But I think Brandon Lowe and Jonathan Aranda not being all-star finalists, let alone right now being all-stars, is criminal at this rate.
And that's not Ray's bias he's coming off with either way. Jackson Holliday, he's been great, especially for 21, 22-year-old kid, but he's been a league average hitter this year. It's been nothing that's off the charts. For his age, yes, you can't dock him for that. He's been phenomenal this year, but hasn't been as good as Brandon Lowe has been this year. It's a fact. And it just comes down to, I think, main thing that I know me and Ethan, I don't know if Brett, if you feel the same way about it, but fan voting sucks. We should get rid of this because I know everyone just says, it's just fan voting. It's about who's going to be starting the All-Star game. Because then this snubs guys who should be All-Stars because someone who shouldn't have not been an All-Star gets voted as a starter. This snubs guys, because when we look at guys when they're getting voted in for the Hall of Fame, they're going to say, they're only a 6-time All-Star, whatever, should have been a 12 or whatever. Or a guy who was a 1-time All-Star should have been a 5-time All-Star. People are voting on the Hall of Fame. They're looking at, hey, how many times were you an All-Star? And you have the power to put that in the fans' hands. I don't like that at all.
If it's going to be at this rate, why even call it the All-Star game? And I know we'll probably get into it later, and I'm not trying to jump the gun, but Ronald Acuna Jr., as of last week, was the starter for an All-Star game. He played in 33 games. That's insane. Actually, you know who played 34 games, who was just above him? Austin Hayes. Is Austin Hayes an All-Star? No. I don't get how you could vote a guy in who's played, at the time, 33 games, a starter over a guy like James Wood. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I do want to call out maybe not a snub, but Gleyber Torres. Like, how about that? Like getting like you didn't get paid by the Yanks, the team that you were brought up by. You won two All-Star games. I think it was a sophomore year. He had 38 bombs with the Yankees. He was one of the guys, and Dean will tell you I made a dumb trade with him straight up for Rafael Devers with Gleyber Torres very early, and I'm a big believer in Torres. I was. It's his third All-Star game. This is huge for Detroit. It's huge for Gleyber Torres. I just want to shout out a little kudos to him because he's definitely having a nice little season. And all you hear about is Detroit pitching. You don't really hear about Gleyber Torres. You hear about like Riley Green and I guess Torkelson's now not playing well again, but to start off the year, he was playing great. And you heard a lot about Torque, but you didn't about Gleyber.
Especially when I think a lot of people didn't really like that signing for him, whatever it was, the 1 year, $18 million. I think there was a lot of people that were kind of confused on where he would do there, especially with that ballpark. They didn't really like it that much, at least myself. I was one of those guys that wasn't too fond of the deal where it was, hey, you're getting a bat in there, but was Glaber really the right choice? And obviously, it's been great for him so far.
Yeah. Anyone else in the American League infield, or do we want to jump to the outfield for the American League?
I'm good on the infield, but I think there's one obvious one in the outfield, and I think we all know it is. Byron Buxton.
Teammate? Is there a teammate of Gleyber Torres?
It's Byron Buxton.
You're saying that he's not on there.
He's not, no, and he should be starting in the All-Star game.
I mean, Byron Buxton right now he's playing at an MVP level, and the fact that this guy's doing it, still leading, I think, in sprint speed at age 30 when he hasn't been consistently healthy in 3 years is simply amazing. And due to the fact that he's even close to 20 home runs right now, playing just healthy baseball. And I think you could say Jonathan Aranda is the biggest snub. Byron Buxton not being an AL starter, I think, is absolutely criminal right now.
How is Javi Baez starting the outfield over Byron Buxton? Like
It's a popularity vote. Like I know it's been insane. A great story for Javier Baez, and I know I've been a Javier Baez hater this year. But great season. That's a great season far. It's nothing against him, but it's the fact that Byron Buxton's been the second or third best outfielder in the American League this year. I mean, he's second in WAR behind Aaron Judge. He's third in WRC plus behind Judge and Riley Green. He's second in stolen bases behind Luis Robert Jr. I mean, he's slashing 277, 342, 558. I mean, how do you not? He's having the best season of his career right now, and he's playing almost every single day.
Yeah, Byron Buxton, let alone just American League. 2 days ago, Byron Buxton is projected to be the 10th most valuable F4 player in all of Major League Baseball, let alone just the AL. I think that's insane that a guy that's been arguably a top 10 player to start the year is not starting and representing the American League, and especially a team that he represents in the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, I'm a little upset about that actually. Buxton's been saving my butt in fantasy as well this year. But needless to say, American League, outside of that, I think everything else is pretty good. Like we knew Judge was going to be there. We knew Riley Green had a fair chance to be an all-star. I don't really have that many more tips with the American League. Let's jump to the National League and start with their infield. So I actually think there's one pretty obvious one that is kind of a joke, and it stinks because I really like the guy. And I think Freddie Freeman kind of won a popularity contest over Pete Alonso this year for the All-Star game. I don't know about you guys. Like, I'm not, Freddie Freeman, he's been a keeper for me in a keeper league in fantasy for like the last 4 or 5 years. I love the guy. He's not playing at an all-star level compared to Pete Alonso. And needless to say, over Peter Alonso at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is just, I looked at it a few weeks ago with Toby, and at that rate, Pete Alonso was slugging at a higher rate. He had played in more games because a lot of people forget that Freddie Freeman was out for, I think, almost a 2-week period with some sort of injury. So, and granted, I think Freddie Freeman's having one of the most underrated seasons of baseball this year. I mean, he's an all-star finalist, but if you really look into his numbers, he's putting together an unbelievable year, and some of the rates are career highs. But I think you got to give it to Pete Alonso just for the fact that he's played in more games. The power numbers are more, and I know that the all-star ballot, all you're really seeing is home runs, RBIs, and OPS. And I think you just have to give it to a guy like Pete Alonso, especially what he's done with the Mets this year. A guy that was criminally disrespected in the offseason as well.
100%. I think Pete Alonso was the right choice here. Obviously, he has 12 games over Freddie, so you can say, okay, he has the power numbers a little bit on that, but he's got 18 home runs to 10 there. I mean, they're walking at the same rate. Pete strikes out a little bit more, but I mean, the OPS is Pete Alonso, I believe at this point, leads in OPS by about 30 points after Freddie Freeman's been in the slump lately, which is hard too because at the time where the phase 2 ballots were kind of finalized, Freddie Freeman was already kind of out of that slump or still in that slump, which changes the numbers a bit. But Pete Alonso's he's just been the better first baseman this year. I mean, he's got a 159 WRC plus. I know that doesn't really take into account the All-Star game numbers, but I think it's just good to say that when you're leading by 15 points in WRC plus, I think that says something overall about your offensive game.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned like the phase 2 stuff, because I know when Paul Goldschmidt was like finalized with a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., at the time, Paul Goldschmidt was hitting a $195 over his last 30 games. So these guys can be all-star finalists, but they got to also play terribly until the all-star break. And a guy, like a Jonathan Aranda or, Pete Alonso, who should be starting at the position, could emerge in that time. But I think also if we're going to do a popularity contest all-star game, might as well maybe push back the voting a little bit so we can fully see what these guys are doing in the first half.
Yeah, I've been big on this, and and like the thing is, I'm mad at myself because I haven't put a lot of thought into how we restructure the All-Star. But it's every sport, right? Like football, no one cares about the Pro Bowl, right? Nobody cares about it. NHL, I couldn't even tell you when the NHL All-Star break is or how it works. The NBA, it seems like it's an overblown thing with this now skills competition. Like people don't care for it as much anymore. Like people care more about the dunk contest than the All-Star game itself because there's literally zero defense played, which fine. If you're avoiding injuries, that, at least if you're going to put it in the middle of the season, make the games go back to like winner gets home field advantage for the World Series. I do like that. I did like that, but like having it in the middle, like you have screwed for like guys like, Francisco Lindor, who just like we could talk about him being part of the National League infield now. Like he's got his first All-Star appearance since when, right? Like Hagen, is it like 2019? Yeah. And it's like Lindor, if you look at
third in F4, by the way, since that period.
Yeah, and if you look at his like end of year stats per year since 2019, the guy's a perennial All-Star, but he's been shafted out of, let's be conservative and say like 2, maybe 3 All-Star appearances. And I think that hurts the Hall of Fame case. I think that hurts the legacy case. I think that is just also to the player, that's not fair. Like if you're playing at that level and you're like, if he had a contract discussion or negotiation in between all this time, right? Like obviously he signed with the Mets long term, but imagine he had a contract dispute and it's like, hey, instead of saying, oh, I'm a 3-time All-Star, it's like, no, I'm a 7-time All-Star. It's that much more clout for the player. And like, I hate to use the word clout there. It's it's not the best word you could use, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like this overall is a problem for the players. And I think it needs to be figured out somehow, some way. Maybe it's, we could go to another episode to discuss the entire remake of the All-Star break. I'm not going to go into it now, but anything from what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I would just say on the fact on why you're talking about Francisco Lindor here, as a Mets fan, it's awesome to finally see him get an All-Star, let alone be a starter here, because we've been fighting this every single year. I know he had some slow starts, which is the reason why he hasn't been in the All-Star games, but there's been kind of a mix of that and also a little being snubbed in the All-Star game voting wise. But this goes back to the point with the phase 2 voting on how some of these guys are already getting into that before they're hitting their slumps. I mean, since June 8th, 3 weeks ago, Francisco Lindor was the clear, no doubt, should have been the All-Star game starter. If you look at the numbers today overall, he shouldn't be the All-Star game starter. Should probably be a Trey Turner, Ellie De La Cruz.
I was just going to say,
the last 87 plate appearances, he's hitting 162 with 218 on base. He has a 500 OPS in his last 90 plate appearances going back to June 8th.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a hot take, but honestly, I'm glad you said it as a Mets fan. I don't think Francisco Lindor should be starting the All-Star game. I think Trey Turner is having arguably the most underrated season in baseball and definitely within the National League. If you're looking at just let's go through the numbers. Lower K rate for Trey Turner, higher average, higher OBP, higher slug, higher WOBA. higher WRC plus. A lot of people watching this, I don't think a lot of you know, Trey Turner is leading WAR among shortstops in the National League. Trey Turner, in terms of overall value, has been the best shortstop in the National League this year, and I feel like no one's really talking about it. And this was a guy a lot of people were writing off to begin the year as well.
And you hit on Trey Turner. I think the finalist should have been. I was like, Mookie Betts shouldn't have been a finalist. I think it probably should have been. You just took from this day forward who the two best shortstops in the National League are. It's Trey Turner and it's Elly De La Cruz. But this goes back to just the voting thing because it was right then around when the phase 2, whatever, 2 weeks ago, is when Elly De La Cruz started heating up, and he's been one of the best players in Major League Baseball since then. And Lindor has been one of the worst players in Major League Baseball since then. So it's kind of hard because at the time where all of the votes were coming in to get Lindor to that phase 2, he was the better shortstop, and then after that's when the slump started. So it gets a little tricky. But if you just took overall base numbers, you're picking the All-Star game right now. There was no phase voting at all. It's not Francisco Lindor, sadly.
You know what I was going to say? We were totally talking about Trey Turner on the last episode, not because he all-star for his season. So Ethan, I think you bring up a great point. He's been so under talked about, and to be fair, I just haven't fairly kept up with Trey Turner. When we were talking about Team USA baseball, Hagen was like, dude, they're just going to plug in Trey Turner with Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson to play second. And I was like, dude, you're absolutely right. Trey Turner's playing at that level where he should be starting on Team USA. It was kind of mind opening. But yeah, I think that's a great point from both you guys. So, is there anything else in the National League snubs that we want to talk about, or are we all good for the hitting portion of this right now?
Yeah, I was at work all day. I don't know. I don't know if was James Wood starting or no.
He wasn't even in phase 2 voting, so he didn't even have the chance.
No, it's Kyle Tucker, PCA, and Ronald Acuna Jr.
Well, I think we touched on Ronald Acuna Jr. The fact that he's even considered playing less than 40 games is ridiculous. I think that is criminal at this rate. I think you could say the same thing with a guy like Alex Bregman, who's been out for over a month at this point. It just makes no sense to me. But the fact that James Wood, probably the most talented 22-year-old we have seen in numerous decades, is going out there with 22 bombs, 65 RBIs before the All-Star break. James Wood could have 70 RBIs going into the second half with a 155 WRC plus. It makes no sense how this guy is not an all-star. And if it really is a popularity thing, growing the game, I get growing the game. Ronald Acuna Jr. is going out there. He's simply, you could argue, top 3 most talented player in the game. Why don't you throw at a guy like James Wood, who just got intentionally walked 4 times, by the way, first player since Barry Bonds to do that, to represent your game and to grow the game, because he's been one of the most electric players in Major League Baseball this year.
I mean, James Wood, the MLB just released their new MVP voting. He was 5th on there in the National League. And it just sucks that he didn't even have the chance to make it in there to have a chance to start because he wasn't in that phase 2 voting. But my biggest issue here in anything is it is utter bullshit that Ronald Acuna Jr. is starting this All-Star game. He should not be starting. If you play less than 50% of your games, I don't care if you're doing what Aaron Judge did. If you don't play 50% of the games, you should not be an All-Star game starter. I mean, I pulled this up. Since Ronald Acuna Jr. has came back, him and Juan Soto are 2 plate appearance difference. The OPS is not that different. Acuna's got him by 40 points. The WRC plus by 10 if you want to go that way. Acuna's got 0.5 F4 on him. But also, Acuna, it plays center field. He has a positional value higher than Juan Soto there. You cannot tell me, yes, Acuna's been better since he came back from Soto, slightly. But you're telling me you're taking that over the previous 40 games of that Juan Soto was giving you before that? That's stupid to me. And I'm saying Soto here just because of, honestly, he was one of those phase 2 voting guys where it should be James Wood in that third outfield spot. It should be Kyle Tucker, Pete Armstrong, and James Wood, in my opinion. But if you're just going to take the Pajes, Teoscar Hernandez, and Soto with the 3 left available, it should have been Juan Soto, in my opinion.
The fact that Teoscar Hernandez is an all-star is unbelievable. I think there could be a total podcast episode on just the guys that have put up better seasons than Teoscar Hernandez, because I like the Mookie Betts thing. I kind of get because it's Mookie Betts, but Teoscar Hernandez, there was that large of a percentage of people that were voting Teoscar Hernandez into the All-Star game. That is unbelievable to me.
It's insane how high up there he is. I mean, Teoscar Hernandez, he's a great player, yeah, but he's 16th. I know WRC Plus isn't the number put on there, but just to give you overall aspect of his game, Sal Frelick, Alec Burleson, TJ Friedel, Gavin Sheets, Heliot Ramos have higher WRC pluses than Teoscar Hernandez. Like that was the one that I just didn't get.
Kyle Stowers has a higher WRC plus than Teoscar Hernandez. Kyle Stowers was getting no
by
love.
30 points. By 30 points.
It makes no sense to me. To put into perspective too, you mentioned all the names above him. The guys with, I guess, a similar range, Nicholas Castellanos, WRC plus is 1 point below Teoscar Hernandez. Do you think Nicholas Castellanos deserves to be an All-Star this year? No way.
No,
I
dropped him in fantasy like 3 weeks ago.
I think Teoscar Hernandez being an All-Star, that might be the craziest one up there with Mookie Betts. I get the Dodger market, I get all that, but I mean, it's almost disrespectful. And I get some of these guys are, I just want to win. I don't care about the accolades, the All-Star stuff. I think that's total bullshit. I think some of these guys that have worked their ass off, especially for a guy like Jonathan Aranda, who would be representing his country of Mexico, that means a lot to the fans. It means a lot to their country. And I could talk all day long about how Teoscar Hernandez is Sal Frelick has a higher WRC plus than Teoscar Hernandez.
And when it comes down to it too, if it's even like a tie, like in my mind, if it's a tie between two guys, like let's say it was the last All-Star spot between, let's say, Sal Frelick and Teoscar Hernandez, I want to give it more to a guy like a Sal Frelick who's having one of his better years of his career, who's not going to be a 5-time All-Star like Teoscar Hernandez is going to be in his career. Which I know then you're snubbing him or whatever when he's at the end of his career and talking about the All-Star. So I'm contradicting myself as earlier, but if it's tied, you got to give it to the dude who's having the career year and who's not going to be an All-Star very often, I feel like.
I mean, Teoscar Hernandez has 0.6 F4. Mike Yastrzemski, a guy that is a maybe number 5 or 6 bat on the San Francisco Giants, is doubled his overall value. That's insane to me, dude. That might be one of the worst All-Star selections I've ever seen, at least in the last 5-6 years that I've really paid attention to it. 0.6 F4. Teoscar Hernandez is on pace for not even 2 F4, and he's going to be in the All-Star game.
Yeah, it's kind of bad. It's not a little bad.
It's insane.
It is. But you know what the thing, I do like Teoscar. I do like him like as a player, so it's like, if it was like someone I didn't like, like if it was Jarren Duran or something like that, I would be like shitty about it. But not that I don't like Duran's game, I just, I've expressed this before. I feel like he's just a head case. But outside of that, I don't really have any more like shocking takeaways from the All-Star snubs and, All-Star, guys who made it. I do have my gripe with the way the system's set up, that it's halfway through the season, even though it's kind of gotta be, but I don't know. Outside of that, let's talk about a guy who is, lightning in a bottle and, all-star caliber pitcher here, Zach Wheeler for the Philadelphia Phillies. He has been on an absolute tear in the month of June. He went 2-1 with a .58 ERA over 5 starts since 1912. He's the fourth Phillies pitcher to post a .6 ERA or under with 30 or more innings pitched in a month. Cliff Lee's done this, Tommy Green and Lee Meadows. That's really, great stuff for Zach Wheeler. He also finished the month with a 35% strikeout rate in 31 innings. There's only been 8 pitchers since 2005 to do that, and with below a 1 ERA, and that's Chris Sale, Blake Snell, Tarek Skubal, Jacob deGrom, Kevin Gausman. Max Scherzer's done it twice. Clayton Kershaw has done it 3 times, and CC Sabathia. Bunch of Hall of Famers, bunch of All-Stars, and Tarek Skubal, he's a superstar, like current day, so really, really great names to be with, and then there's Gausman as well, who's also an incredible pitcher. So guys, let's talk about Wheeler. He's 5th amongst all pitchers this season with F4 with 3.4 on the year. How do we want to phrase this? Do you think Zach Wheeler is one of the more disrespected pitchers in baseball? I feel like his name does not come up enough when we talk about best pitchers in the league.
Said it 3 times. Zach Wheeler is the Jose Ramirez of pitchers. The guy that, if there wasn't a true, I guess, put away player, like for Cal Raleigh's stance, if Aaron Judge wasn't playing this year, Cal Raleigh would easily be the MVP this year. If there wasn't some of those pitchers in the National League, like a freak Sandy year, or just some of those other guys, Zach Wheeler, I think maybe you guys would agree, would have at least 2 Cy Youngs at this point. And I think with the recent outing of Paul Skeens, I think Zach Wheeler's probably the Cy Young frontrunner in my opinion. This guy, I think over his last 7 starts, had an ERA below 1.5. He's just been simply one of the most dominant pitchers in Major League Baseball. And I think this is finally the year where Zach Wheeler is going to capture the Cy Young. His stuff is unbelievable. This is a guy that can get you out in multiple different ways. Great feel of his pitches, great feel for the zone. And it's just simply one of the most dominant pitchers we've seen in our generation. But yeah, I agree. He doesn't get talked about enough as much as he should be because he's just simply that good.
I mean, ever since he's gotten to Philadelphia, that first year was that COVID season. He's thrown 936 innings since then. If you take away the COVID year, the lowest he's thrown in the season, disregarding this year, is 153 in 2022. But this guy has a 2.86 ERA and a 2.91 FIP over that time period with a 29.8 B WAR there. I believe that leads all pitchers in that span. He is one of the best pitchers in this generation. Like, you're going to look at it all said and done. He's probably not going to have the Hall of Fame numbers, but I know I've talked to Ethan about this before, where it's going to feel really weird when you look up at the end of the day and Zach Wheeler does not have a Cy Young. When you look back 10 years from now and you say, he was that good. He was maybe not always, he was never felt like the best pitcher on the planet, unless it was the postseason, obviously, but he was always the second or the third. He was never lower than that, it felt like. I mean, even this year, if you don't say the best pitchers on the planet right now, you'd probably say Skubal, Skeens, and then Wheeler's the third one. Like, he gets left out there, but I really hope, and I really think, too, that he can win the Cy Young this year. I mean, Zach Wheeler, just, you know what you're going to get from year in and year out. It's almost like, I like the Jose Ramirez comp because you know what you're getting from Jose Ramirez every single year. You're going to get guys who can be close to 30-30. He's going to give you 6 wins a year. He's going to be a superstar on your team. Zach Wheeler, he's going out there to throw 200 innings for you. He's going to give you a 3. If he gave you a 3.2, I think we'd be surprised if he put up a 3.2 ERA. That's how good he is. He's going to put 200 strikeouts, and he's going to be arguably the number 1 pitcher in baseball you want on the mound in a Game 7 playoffs. I would argue he is the best option there.
I was just going to say, we get caught up way too much in Zach Wheeler regular season. This guy in 12 postseason appearances, 77 Ks, he has a 2.18 career postseason ERA. Other than Madison Bumgarner that we have seen in our generation, I'm not taking anyone else on the mound. Zach Wheeler is going to dominate in the regular season, and he's going to kick your freaking ass in the postseason as well. There's not a lot of pitchers you can say that about.
I love that. I love, and this just goes to show again. And one thing I've said on this podcast for a lot is I think people just do not understand, outside of baseball people, like the general public does not understand the level of depth that Major League Baseball has in terms of talent right now. There is so much talent spread out throughout this league. The parity, sure. Dude, some teams have like big names, absolutely. But this is baseball, and anybody can win. It just takes being hot for 3 games in a wild card series to get eliminated from the playoffs. And baseball, we see it all the time. So, Zach Wheeler, shout out to you. Great season so far. Fantastic career. Hopefully locks in his 2nd Cy Young in the National League this year. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, guys, do we want to move into transactions, or do we want to talk a little Kershaw? Or should we wait since that game starts in 10 minutes? We could wait. Let's wait. Yeah, so we'll close out the episode. We're going to talk about Clayton Kershaw and his legacy. But let's talk injuries and moves. So, Astros sluggers, Yordan Alvarez goes down with a setback. He had soreness in his hand. He's going to see a hand specialist. Guys, how concerned are you about Alvarez for this year? Obviously, the Astros are kicking butt, but Yordan Alvarez is a big piece for them to be serious contenders come September, October.
I'll take 20 seconds before I pass on to Hagen. I'm extremely concerned only because have you heard any recent news about Yordan Alvarez's injury except for today or the other day? No. I don't think anyone had heard anything about Yordan Alvarez's recovery time through the course of the season, I think it's something that is definitely not a good sign for the Houston Astros. The fact that this guy has an injury, he's been out all year, and no one has heard anything about the recovery time or how close he is to coming back, I think that's concerning.
It's definitely concerning, especially when I think it was soreness just from swinging. Like, it wasn't like it was, oh, he got hit or whatever in the hand. It was just from swinging the bat. He got soreness again. And today, literally today on this mark, is the 2-month mark of the last time he played in a Major League Baseball game. And this is probably the first time we've heard anything since he went on the IL. Like he
Right.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. The thing is, though, I feel like if anyone's going to get some devil magic done here at the deadline, it's going to be the Astros making some sort of sneaky deal, like getting Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks and making him play first base, or, I don't know what it's going to be, like something crazy to replace Jordan and the bat. I don't know. I don't know. But Houston, speaking of Jordan, they're also down with Jeremy Pena now. He's on the 10-day IL due to a fractured one of his ribs. The good news is he isn't expected to be sidelined for that long. I think it's more than 10, like they're not expecting more than 10 days, which is like insane if you think about it. So this all depends how he responds to treatment and his pain tolerance here, but hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. This is not good for Baltimore, not because of what the injury is. It's back tightness in lower back for Zach Eflin. He's put on the 15-day IL. It's bad because I just wrote an article about 3 sellers and 3 buyers. The Orioles, I'm already saying they should be selling. They have young, controllable assets. It's not their year. They fudged up by not going after more depth in the starting pitching department, as well as like the hitting hasn't been great. I think they need to regroup. I think they need to restructure and figure out how they want to attack the next, 2, 3 to 5 years with all those young, controllable players. But yeah, Eflin was a key piece, I think, for them to ship off to another team. Guys, do you think that, Eflin's going to be able to get back in time to maybe have a start or two look sharp, and then the Orioles could sell on a high?
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I think that's the best case scenario. You could help get him back, and then you're hoping it goes good, has a good start or two. But I think teams would trust. You kind of know who Zach Eflin is at this point. That you would say, even if he has, let's say, kind of not a great start, but he goes out there, gets whatever 5 and 4 runs, whatever it is, you'll still think into him. But the thing for me that just stands out here is this is the 14th man now on the Orioles injured list, which I believe ties Major League Baseball for the lead right now with the Mets. It's hard. I know we give the Orioles a lot of shit here, and we have since pretty much day one, but it's hard to really do anything when you have 14 guys on the injured list.
I mean, if I'm the Orioles, I'm 100% moving Eflin, just because I'm pretty sure that they're getting Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez back at some point. So if you ship Eflin out, you're automatically getting 2 arms that are, in my opinion, way better than Zach Eflin, especially in Grayson's case, just being a lot younger with better stuff, higher upside. I think it's a no-brainer. I think you get as much value from Eflin as you can. You get a piece that could definitely help your team more, especially when you're getting guys kind of coming back. Kind of the same situation with the Rays, with probably Zach Littell and Joe Boyle around the trade deadline this year. But I think if you're the Orioles, you have to move a guy like Zach Eflin.
We got you on mute again, Brett.
We knew it was going to happen. I think I hit the wire. Guardians shortstop Gabriel Arias, he was carted off the field. I don't know if you guys saw this. Looks like a sprained left ankle. Didn't see the end result, how long he's going to be on the IL for, but Ethan's dying. He has for being on mute. But hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later. I don't know the severity of that injury. Marcus Stroman was activated. Got a win for the Yankees from his leg injury that he's been dealing with, the inflammation of his right knee. He's been out since mid-April, so been a long time, and was able to come back. And given, yes, it was the Athletics, he did get a W, so good to see that. The Tigers, they placed Kerry Carpenter on the 10-day IL due to a hamstring issue. Josh Young for the Texas Rangers was sent to AAA. That is not what you want to see.
I was so shocked when I saw that. That was, I think, a lot of people too. If you go to the comments on MLB Deadline or trade rumors, I think everyone is just as shocked as we were about it. Granted, he's been playing really bad recently, but this guy was like a top 10 third baseman like a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Just like where he was, the way he was talked about as a prospect, like, and then he, looked great. Bunch of injuries, obviously, but still, I just expected more out of Young at this point, and it is shocking. We'll see how he plays it out down there. But Hagen, were you taken back by this one, or
I was honestly a little surprised. I know he struggled a little bit this year, but I don't. It really surprised me, especially when I know you signed Jake Berger to a deal, but you're going to send down a young guy. I don't know, man. I don't really know what's going on with Texas. I mean, there was reports obviously earlier today that Kevin Pillar, once he retired, he kind of was talking with the locker room and saying that they just didn't really seem like they really cared too much. Everyone was just kind of some guys you wouldn't see till the start of the game. There wasn't much BP or anything like that. So I don't really know what's going on with Texas at this point.
I was going to bring that up. Don't you think that's very odd that there was like just a disconnected locker room? It was basically like the core that won the World Series, and everyone else like was not getting talked to. Kevin Pillar said that there were times where no one would talk almost up until game time. You wouldn't see anyone in the clubhouse. You wouldn't see anyone on the field. They wouldn't stretch together. They wouldn't hit BP together. And if you're a new guy trying to gel with the team, how are you able to connect with your teammates? I thought when I saw that today on my breakout work, I thought that was crazy, especially for a team with Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Jock Peterson, Jake Berger, like a lot of veteran guys and a lot of guys that have won world championships. It makes no sense. And I just think it's just such a weird clubhouse dynamic. And I don't know if maybe everyone in the Rangers organization was probably aware of what was going on because they've been slacking the last 2 years.
yeah. Definitely have been. It's been weird. I did not expect them to have this long of a drought just because the way they looked during that World Series run, that offense looked like a juggernaut. Like it looked like it was going to be a problem for a long time. And in fact, it was a problem for a short amount of time, not a long time. So, I don't know either. I'm interested to see how that all pans out. Maybe they end up being big time sellers and moving some guys like Simeon, who knows it probably can't get rid of that contract, but there might be guys they move. And well, Adolis Garcia, I keep hearing his name being mentioned, and he was definitely one of the big factors of why they won 2 years ago. We shall see. The Athletics, they promoted Colby Thomas to make his MLB debut. So he's a third-round pick out of Mercer back in 2022. He's the A's number 2 prospect per MLB pipeline. A's calling up some reinforcements. Bryce Harper, he was activated from the 10-day IL. This was following the inflammation in his right wrist. Good to see. He's one of the best stars in the league. We got the Braves. They designated for assignment Alex Verdugo. This was the clear spot for Jurickson Profar. Guys, is Verdugo done? Is he like done?
Verdugo's cooked. I'm sorry.
He's got to be
I've
a
never
minor
been
league
an Alex. I'm not a big Alex Verdugo guy.
That's fair. Neither am I. He didn't do well for the Yanks. It's kind of crazy. Isn't he like a pretty solid defender though? Like, do you think he'll get a job anywhere or no?
He's definitely still like.
I view Alex Verdugo. I know he was a good defender, but I view him now when I hear Alex Verdugo. I think of that play last year with the Yankees when he was a 99% catch probability and he took like 7 steps in, and then he was running back and he tripped. That's the first thing that comes to my mind when I think Alex Verdugo now.
Without even looking at the numbers, I think the last 2 years offensively, he hasn't even been near league average. So the defense can only do so much. And granted, if you're a good defender, a lot of those guys that are elite, like Christian Pache for the Phillies, played a little bit with the A's. If you're a center fielder and good defensively and you have no offensive value, that's different. But if you're playing left field and you're a defensive left field specialist, there's only so much room that you could truly have unless you have a pretty solid ability to go out there and play center field on a regular basis.
And he's not really a dude who's going out there and steal 30 bases, too. You can put in, like, as a feel like, oh, we're putting him here in the 9th inning to pinch run. You feel great about it. Like, it's...
I wouldn't trust... I think I would trust Brett on the bases more than Alex Verdugo.
Thank you. Tyler's probably laughing, turning over in his grave somewhere that you said that. But no, it is, I'd be fearful to run, so I wouldn't take big leads. I wouldn't get picked off. And then if it was hit far enough, maybe I'd get it to the next base without getting thrown out. Who knows? Probably not, but who knows? Colorado Rockies are calling out outfielder Yanquiel Fernandez to make his MLB debut. Fernandez is the number 5 prospect in the Rockies system. So who knows? I learned today. I was listening to one podcast, I forget, and they were mentioning that I think 3 of 4 of the Colorado Rockies farm facilities where they play are super batter friendly. They need to do something. Switch up their strategy. Is not working. I did hear that, so I'm a little disappointed. I don't have high hopes for Yanquiel, even though I've heard about him for the last 2 years. I know he's got talent. I know he's pretty solid baseball player according to what I'm hearing, but we'll see how he does. It's the Rockies, so it's tough to get going in Colorado. For sure, it's tough to get going there. Ethan, I'm going to let you take this one. Randy Rosarena hits his 100th career bomb. Impressed or not impressed?
I'm going to say impressed, but also Randy the last 3 years has steadily declined. I will say he's playing a lot better this year, but the clubhouse dynamics that were in Tampa Bay were not good. So to be completely honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Randy Rosarena. But in terms of the baseball player, he's one of the most electric players that you can have on a baseball field. It's a guy where he can pretty much carry your team. We saw with the Rays in 2020 during the playoff run. If Randy Rosarena doesn't get hot, that Rays team goes nowhere. But I have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth from what I heard some of the reports in Tampa with the locker room.
Yeah, I'm not impressed either. I feel like all we've heard about is Randy Rosarena being this great ball player for the last 5-6 years. I'm like, he's only had a career 100 home runs at this point. Aaron Judge might, double that and from his last 2 seasons, which is crazy. Maybe not double it, but you guys know what I mean. He'll get to that number across 2 of his years. Ohtani, he's now at 5 straight seasons of 30-plus bombs. I think, what's crazy? He is, shedded the injury-prone player while he's been rehabbing an injury. Is that, do you guys get that vibe at all? Remember early on his year, people were concerned, constant injuries with him, and then, 5 straight years of 30-plus home runs. Even with Tommy John, he's done this. This is insane.
The fact that you can go out there and have 5 straight seasons of 30-plus bombs, and then you come back from TJ and you throw your hardest pitch of your career, that's only something Shohei, did we expect anything less? Shohei Ohtani's hardest pitch in his career is post TJ, and he did it twice against Vinny Pasquantino. That's the icing on the cake, too. It makes no sense what Shohei Ohtani does on a regular basis. It's incredible.
And I don't want to hear any of this. Oh, well, Babe Ruth did some of this too, even though it was 100 years ago. Shohei Ohtani, when he hit 21 home runs, he had 3 strikeouts this year as a pitcher. Babe Ruth never did that once in his career. He never hit 29 home runs and 3 strikeouts in a single season. Shohei does that every year he's healthy.
I know me and you are not with the old, I guess I call it almost the Plumber era. I'll be totally honest with you, because those guys,
era.
they're not touching anyone. If people are comparing Babe Ruth and Shohei Ohtani, I think that's wild. Show me a clip of Babe Ruth topping 102 on the mound.
Show me a clip of him topping 85 of 85. Show me.
You're saying this guy can't touch Tarek Skubal?
No. I love that point that you brought up earlier in the episode of the widespread talent in Major League Baseball. I think overall talent-wise, in building the game and transforming the game, there's no sport like baseball right now. I think basketball, other than the 3-ball, has been kind of the same. And granted, basketball right now is kind of unwatchable if you look at the viewership. NFL has kind of remained the same. In terms of baseball, you're adding new pitches. There's different spin rates. There's different just pitch grips. The talent in baseball and the development of baseball is unlike any sport that we have seen. And the talent pool is just crazy good.
I'm one of the I'm more about what the time was and when you compare guys from generations, I'm just okay, Babe Ruth was that much better than everyone else during his time, right? That doesn't mean he'd be fantastic now. I think if Babe Ruth came up to the plate right now and had to verse any reliever, not just Felix Bautista, I'm talking any reliever, he'd be holy shit, that guy throws gas. He would be so thrown off his game compared to what he was facing when he was playing. 18 inches of horizontal movement, like with vertical movement and like pitches coming out all different ways. And oh my God, like, come on.
We were talking about Alex Verdugo earlier. I think if Babe Ruth was stepping up to the plate right now, you could probably see some Alex Verdugo numbers. I'm sorry to say it. It just I get Babe Ruth was unbelievable. I'm not discrediting that, but the fact that people are comparing him to Shohei Ohtani, I think is just not even like Shohei Ohtani was hitting balls through the Tokyo Dome in Japan. Like he was hitting balls leaving the stadium of 90 plus miles an hour that were thrown at him. I can't compare those two players remotely, to be quite honest with you.
I mean, I've been on the record multiple times saying Babe Ruth is the most overrated player in Major League Baseball history.
All right.
I'm not saying part of that is because they say he's the GOAT. And dude,
I gotta pause you guys for 1 second. Dude, are you guys watching the Dodgers game?
It's not going.
Kershaw gave up 2 runs in the first inning, and then there's 2 guys on, and he almost just gave up a Yavo, and he got the outfielder robbed the home run. So Kershaw, without any strikeouts, probably would have just been pulled. Thank God he robbed it and like lets him get to the second inning to accomplish this tonight. Oh my goodness!
What's the score?
It's 2-0, I think, right now, or 2-1. But like, dude, imagine Kershaw doesn't get it tonight. Let me wrap these up real quickly just so we could talk about Kershaw, because I definitely we got to go in on Clayton. So one of Indiana's finest, Tucker Barnhart, he's a 2-time Gold Glove winner. He retired this week. Same with Kevin Pillar and Whit Merrifield. So some staple players from teams of the last decade we're seeing all retire this week. I saw that the San Francisco Giants, they picked up the 2026 option on Bob Melvin. I think that's good. Shows, that vote of confidence in the San Francisco staff right now. And I think Posey's trying to make an aggressive push and keep everything intact to make a competitor. I saw also, did you guys see the whole Dennis Santana thing with attacking the fan? Did you guys see this video? So he got his 4-game suspension reduced to 3 by the MLB. What do you guys think of the suspension and, what Santana did and what happened there?
Why are you trying to punch a fan? Like, I get that. Obviously, I didn't hear what he was saying before. He could have said some outlandish stuff. I understand that. But I think you have to know, as a Major League Baseball player, you can't be swinging. Like, it wasn't even like the dude was right there in front of me swung. He was jumping up to even reach him in the first place and then swinging at him, knowing that he was going to get suspension, knowing they had their phones out filming him. It was kind of a dumb moment, in my opinion. I don't know, obviously, what was said to him, if it was anything personal. I assume it had to have been. But if it was just like, hey, man, you suck, and you're doing something like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, to Santana's point, probably a really bad move. Also, to his point, if you got to go down swinging. At least he left everything out there before he got suspended. So I will say that if you're going to get suspended, make the most of it. That's all I'll say on that. But what he was doing, I think is ridiculous. There's no point in our game for that. And I think the fact that there were that many people recording it is just absolutely insane. I mean, if you go and look at multiple different views of that video, every single person has their phone out. He's throwing haymakers at the guy in the bullpen.
I think I've seen 5 different views of that video.
Dude, it's 2025. You got to get the video for the Snapchat, man.
Everyone had their phones out.
And then TikTok it, then Instagram it. Let all your friends know you saw an MLB player beat the piss out of some fan. So speaking of fans, this is actually the perfect transition for MLB stats of the week. Usually we do one, but I found one stat so peculiar that Bleacher Report put out this week that I needed to put it in there as well. So originally I went with James Wood becoming the first player since Bonds to draw 4 intentional walks in a game. Insane, by the way. Anything you can do that Barry Bonds did, insane. And Sarah Lang's put this out there. So it's since the intentional walk system has been tracked since 1955, it happened to James Wood, Barry Bonds in 4 separate games, Manny Ramirez, Andre Dawson, Gary Templeton, Roger Maris. I don't know about Templeton. I'll pull that up, but everyone else there is a Hall of Famer. So, and Manny Ramirez actually would be if he wasn't on steroids. So, it's either steroids or Hall of Fame is what I'm getting at. And Woods, obviously, different era. They're not doing roids. He's young. You talked about it earlier. Both you guys, like James Wood is phenomenal at the game of baseball. Crazy.
James Wood will be a Hall of Famer. I'll say it right now. I don't even think it's a debate. I don't really care. I think James Wood will be a Hall of Famer. The fact that he's doing this at 22 is incredible. Imagine when James Wood is 26, 27. And also to that point too, they walked James Wood 4 times. They still lost the game. Like that's incredible in itself too.
Yeah, I think that stat is crazy, and like obviously it shows respect of like James Wood is this good, but you also got to look the rest of the lineup is awful. I mean, if I was doing the same, why don't you just walk James Wood every single game? You're gonna
DJ Abrams pretty solid.
Right after him? Why don't you do that every single time?
DJ Abrams has been pretty good,
and and hopefully Dylan Cruz takes off. But still, like I don't want to take away from Woods, but that is a sign of respect. 4 intentional walks in one game.
That's insane.
That'd be annoying if I was the batter. If like you really want to get a hit, it's like God damn.
There's a reason why it hasn't happened since Barry Bonds, who's the greatest player, or greatest hitter of all time.
Yeah. So this is the peculiar stat, and this has to do with fans. So on Monday night this week, for the 5th time in 4 seasons, the same Diamondbacks fan has interfered with a potential home run ball. On Tuesday, the Diamondbacks announced he was banned from Chase Field for the rest of the season. This is according to Bleacher Report. If he's interfered with multiple balls, aren't these people banned for life? What's going on here? Like, guys.
No, I know. The fact that that's happened that many times and he's still allowed to go there is crazy. The only other guy I can think of rivaling that is Zach Campbell. And I think he's now banned from every single stadium, but
I don't know who that is. Who is that?
Do you know who Zach Campbell is?
He's not the Giants guy who goes in the lake and gets all the.
That's
okay.
That's Cubby
Dave.
Okay. Sorry. So Campbell, this guy is just like a chronic interferer with balls and stuff like that.
Oh, he'll go through the children and everything to make sure he gets that ball.
Damn, I don't like that guy.
Not a lot of people. I will give him credit though. He definitely stands what he believes on, which I give him credit to that. But yeah, the fact that you can go to that many Diamondbacks games and interfere with that many baseballs is crazy. And I don't know if you've actually seen the clips of him doing it prior. Every single one of them was like, 2 of them, he clearly like reached into the field of play to try and get the ball. How is that guy allowed to still go there? I think that is crazy. Unless he's helping the Diamondbacks win in some case, but that's unbelievable.
I feel
maybe
like
that's why the 4 before helped the Diamondbacks out. So they're like, you know what? We'll just let you stay here,
and we'll let you in for a 5th.
Yeah,
I feel like that's just such like easy. Hey, we've had too many fans smoked by 120-mile-an-hour line drives. Let's put up some nets. Like, how about, hey, this guy has a problem. He can't keep his hands to himself. Let's keep him out of the stadium. Like, I feel like it's not hard math to figure out the problem here. And
yeah, call up Craig in Arizona. He'll snag a couple balls in left field for you. He's already done it 5 times. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's also like in 4 seasons, like it's like every year, it's like he gets it, like his band, like axed, and he's like right back in the same. He's like, time to mess up again. Like I don't know, but we will. Being that we're almost at the hour mark, we got to spend some time here, and we got to allocate. Who this episode is kind of named after is Clayton Kershaw. Hagen, you made a jersey switch. It was Trout in the background. Now we got Kershaw. Is that signed, that jersey?
Yes, indeed it is.
Hell yeah. Guys, Hagen, I'll let you start about Clayton Kershaw. He's obviously had 2,997 career strikeouts. He's done this in 18 years. I'm actually like writing a blog as we go about Clayton Kershaw. Do you guys know how many people are in the 3,000 strikeout club?
19.
That's correct. Do you know how many have done it in in under 20 years? 20
3.
seasons, let's say. 6. That would be including Kershaw.
That's insane.
The only person who's done it in less than 18 is Bob Gibson.
Is CC on that list?
CC is number 18 on the list, but he's done it in 19 years. Point is, Clayton Kershaw is about to do this. Sub 20 years, he'll be the 6th guy ever to do this out of the 20 guys who have achieved this, massive. This is the Mount Everest of pitching accolades, I think, like summiting Mount Everest in 3,000 strikeouts. Guys, he's been dominating this league since as long as I can remember. I love Clayton Kershaw. I did not know. Fun fact, I did not know him and Stafford were like best friends until like 3 years ago. But he's been a staple in this league since the massive financial recession, like in 2008. They've made movies about that time period. Like they've made movies about stuff that's gone on between when he started baseball and right now. There's been, Brexit was a massive thing during Clayton Kershaw's time as a major league pitcher. The Queen died of England during Clayton Kershaw's reign as a pitcher. Like so many things around the world have happened while Clayton Kershaw has been dominating. Hagen, what are your thoughts on Kershaw overall? Like, best of our time?
I mean, I think it's hard. You can kind of pick and choose your favorite there between the Verlander, Scherzer, and Kershaw. Obviously, a guy like DeGrom, I would say peak argue is up there, but he doesn't have the longevity.
I knew it was coming.
If you're looking at Kershaw, you can argue, I think, especially as a left-hander. I mean, you could argue Kershaw is a top. I mean, you made the argument, honestly, he's the best left-handed pitcher of all time. If you want to say, especially with the hitters he's faced now in today's game and everything like that, he's going to become the 4th left-handed pitcher ever to reach 3,000 strikeouts. I mean, even too, I was looking at this earlier. He's going to become the 5th starting pitcher ever, joining Bob Gibson, Pedro Martinez, Walter Johnson, and Tom Seaver to have 3,000 strikeouts and a sub-3 ERA in their entire career. That is pure dominance. I mean, every single year, everyone checks the base reference page. I bet that's going to be popping the night. But you look at it, and it's like, even when he has, like, it seems like Kershaw's been able to retire for, like, 3 years now, where it's going to be one more year, it's going to be one more year. He comes out and he gives you a sub-3 every single year. It's truly incredible, and it's been an honor to really watch Clayton Kershaw, have him grow up, being able to watch him as I'm growing up, being arguably the best left-handed pitcher of all time, be on a winning franchise out there, stay with one team, too, for his entire career. That actually means a lot to me as well, because you don't see that very often nowadays. I don't know if you can really put into words how good and the career Clayton Kershaw has had. And it's a really cool moment to see this because, I mean, I don't really know how often – you don't really see this very often. I mean, this could be the 20th player ever to reach 3,000 strikeouts. I mean, this is stuff that you could be telling your grandkids about 4 years from now.
Ethan, I'll turn to you about Kershaw.
Yeah, I mean, I know Hagen and I think we both agree that Jacob deGrom is the most talented in terms of pure talent, what he's able to do with the baseball, talented pitcher we've seen in our generation. I think Clayton Kershaw overall is the best pitcher we've seen in our generation. Granted, postseason stats aside, this guy's won an MVP, Triple Crown, World Series champion, 5-time ERA title, Roberto Clemente Award, three-time Cy Young, 10-time All-Star. Oh, like maybe he has a Gold Glove too. Anything that you can accomplish as a pitcher, Clayton Kershaw has done it, and now he's about to accomplish something that only a handful of guys have ever accomplished in Major League Baseball, and that's striking out 3,000 batters. I was actually thinking about that on the way driving home. Could you imagine striking out he struck out 3,000 batters? That is unbelievable to just think about.
Absurd. Like, imagine watching a YouTube video of that, just like every strikeout, like the last
hours long.
It would be hours long of him just destroying professional hitters for years.
Even to his point, too, it's like, how many times Clayton Kershaw, especially the last 2 years when people are like, oh, he's hanging it up. Clayton Kershaw's not coming back. Time after time again, this guy continues to come back and play Major League Baseball. And even in the years where he's came back towards the later part of his career, he's still been pretty solid. 2022, 2.28 ERA. 2023, 2.46. Like, it's unbelievable that this guy 2 or 3 years ago removed from having 2 sub-2.5 ERA seasons. It's unthinkable what this guy has done. And this was a guy that at one point did have a decently high velo fastball, but he's turned into a completely different pitcher over the last 5-6 years. What Clayton Kershaw has been able to do in his career is just nothing short of spectacular. Like I said, you can argue DeGrom is the most talented pitcher of all time. I still think accolades, what he's been able to do. Clayton Kershaw is the best pitcher that I've seen him in my generation.
And I know obviously I'm a DeGrom guy, but I mean, you can't deny over the full course of the career, you're taking Kershaw any day. You're not even, DeGrom's not even a consideration in that point. But when you look at it too, there's over 20,000 players who have played in Major League Baseball. The Cy Young was established in 1956. Only 11 people have won the Cy Young and the MVP in the same season, and Clayton Kershaw is one of them. That is how rare of a player we have been able to witness. It's truly insane, and especially too. I mean, you talk about all these accolades and how many guys you look at these 3,000 strikeout guys, all the guys he's up there with, and all these stats. A lot of them were playing bumps, like me and Ethan were talking about in the Plummer era. If you look,
I think so.
Who
There's some
are
Plummer era
guys who
emergence
play
in there.
good players? You could argue Kershaw is one of the. I mean, he obviously is one of the best pitchers of all time, but just with the type of hitters he's faced, I think you push him up there a little bit more. You give him a bump even with the guys who have numbers over him.
I think so. I think 100%. I think you can even a guy like CC Sabathia too. Like, I think he's what out of the six that you mentioned that has to. Yeah, I think. Yeah, you got to give credit to especially a guy like Kershaw with the type of hitters that he's been able to face. Granted, that's probably a question that he'll probably get asked a lot when he retires: is how would you have played against Shohei Ohtani if you were able to face him on a regular basis? But what Clayton Kershaw has been able to do with the baseball in his hands is just simply remarkable.
And that slider helped his career longevity as well.
Oh yeah, like I said, the last
about it and how he added it because he was like, "Hey man, he has something else besides the curveball here." It was insane. That slider cutter combo he rocks now, it's beautiful to watch. I've never seen a more.
If you look at the first if you look at the first 11 years of his career and you look at the last 5 to 7, it's a totally different type of pitcher. And the fact that he was still, like I said, 2 or 3 years removed from having 2 sub 2.5 ERA seasons is crazy. When this guy was considering retirement, people didn't even think this guy was coming back, let alone posting fantastic numbers. It's remarkable what this guy's been able to do.
Yeah. I think, there's not much more we could say about Clayton Kershaw. We can go on for hours talking about this guy. Great dude. I don't really know, unless you're a National League West, fan of the Giants or the Padres or something like that, that you could dislike this guy. Everything about him is cool. Texas, lefty, seems like a bro. Honestly, just delivers. People could be haters for playoff appearances early on in his career and his playoff, numbers, but there's nothing really to hate on here with Clayton Kershaw. And now I got Vinny going nuts, but we will close the episode out with that. Anything else left from you guys before we hop off?
I just want to say, Kershaw's through 2 innings right now on 39 pitches. No strikeouts yet. Everyone, if you're watching this, please, when you turn this off, turn on this game, man. You don't get to see stuff like this very often. It's a really special night here, especially if you can get it done. I hope he does. It changes a little bit now. He hasn't gotten it done, but turn on the game and watch this because this is history that you'll remember for the rest of your life.
Ethan?
I have nothing. I just hope Jonathan Aranda's an all-star. That's all I really care about right now, to be completely honest.
Sounds good. All right. Well, bye.